Or this is streaming. It's always awkward. I just want to make sure it's 100% streaming.
Sure.
Okay. That's it. Okay, we're live. Hello, Karl.
Hey, what's happening? It's Tony from Hack the Movies.
Oh my God, it's Karl from Who Are These Podcasts?
You're
How
my favorite
are you?
e-celeb, Tony from Hack the Movies.
I'm your favorite e-celeb.
Yes, I see you on the internet.
Is it because you know so many real celebrities and I'm just like below them, or?
No, I've met you in person. I know you.
But I'm not like a real celeb. I'm not like a Bert Kreischer, okay? I'm an e-celeb.
You're an e-celeb. That's what I'm saying. You're my favorite one.
Yeah. Thank you, Karl. Yes, today we are talking about Bert Kreischer's The Machine, which I watched it last night. You just got done watching it. It is fresh
I did.
in your
I just watched it. Yes.
head. You look very excited about it. Just a few things before we get into that, though. Karl, I've got new merch in the store.
Now we're talking.
Look at those beautiful posters right there. Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
You know what? I'm getting rid of everything behind me. That's what's going up on the wall.
We have the Tony Peaks poster is back. It's also in shirt form. That is, of course, a Twin Peaks reference. The Laura Palmer girl.
You look gorgeous too, I have to say.
Thank you.
Good photo.
Yeah, Teespring just took this design down like a year ago for no reason. So I paid to have them print it myself and put into a store. They are available. You also get the Hack the Movies 89 based off the Michael Keaton Batman logo. That's a nice one. I love that one. You're probably also going to get that one too, right, Karl?
Oh, I'll get 2 of those for sure.
And of course, I got that one because we reviewed those movies and we got like an actual Batmobile for the episode. That was a lot of fun. A few other updates. If you guys are excited for the Gladiator episode, it is up now early on Patreon. You can watch it right now. Karl, do you like Gladiator?
I fucking loved Gladiator. Great movie.
You're gonna like this episode. It's just me and some other.
What's not to like about that movie? People who tell me they like Gladiator. So there's my buddy Drew Lane, the Drew and Mike show. He won't watch any movie that takes place before electricity. It's like, there's no electricity, I won't watch it. Gladiator is a great film.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I agree with you, but that's his rule. But he also doesn't like Star Wars, and I'm like, there's tons of electricity in Star Wars.
Yeah, unless you're like a history snob, Gladiator's great. But yeah, that is up early. I've been getting episodes up early on Patreon at the $2 tier, the lowest level tier. You can get that. And hey, Karl, have you ever heard of this show called Peg Warmers?
I sure have. I think we reviewed it on WATP recently.
Oh, wow. Well, I was on their most recent episode about Stargate toys. It was really good. You should check that one out, Karl.
Oh, no. So I'm, 1 degree of separation from that show right now? Yeah. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, they filmed in my studio now. I love those guys. Yes, and if you don't know, Karl does Who Are These Podcasts? And the reason he is on today is because he's covered a couple of Bert Kreischer's podcasts. How many podcasts does that fucker have, by the way?
Well, he does the Bert Kreischer podcast. He used to do a show with Bill Burr. It was like Bill and Bert or something like that. That's no longer going on. 2 Bears, 1 Cave, which I was so frustrated in the beginning. The opening montage of this movie shows how awesome Bert's career is going. And one of the things they show is 2 Bears, 1 Cave, and then it shows you the number of views they get on YouTube. It's like, whoa, millions. I'm like, this is so obnoxious and infuriating to me.
We're going to go through that because I got a funny real life stat to follow those.
Okay, good.
Yes, and if you guys don't know, former editor Jess, who is still on the show, is also on Karl's other show, The Creep Off, and there's a picture of her looking frightened because you and your co-hosts are screaming at each other.
So Vinny and I had a little bit of an argument at the beginning of the show on Monday. And it's funny because Jess is just sitting in her room, in Philadelphia. But you would think she was sitting between us as we're screaming at each other. She's like, whoa, what's going on? Sorry, Jess. We love you.
But yes, I think that is all the updates. By the way, if you want to leave a super chat for us. We will read a comment or answer a question. within reason. Okay, don't leave super chats asking Karl to talk about Sutter and John's kids. We will not read those, right, Karl?
Oh no, please. $10
No.
or more. $10
No,
or more. We break down Sutter and John's entire family for $10 or more.
God damn it! No.
Now John's gonna pull this clip and be on his show, and be like, "Oh, see, I told you, this guy, he just wants to trash my family. At least make it 20, Karl."
So yes, The Machine, by Bert Kreischer. Now, if you haven't heard Bert, if you don't recognize the name, you might recognize his voice. Let me play a little bit of his audio here. This might ring a bell for some of you guys. Okay, here's what Bert Kreischer sounds like.
I've watched it.
Okay, that's Bert Kreischer.
Yep.
Are you having fun yet, guys?
And I should point out, he goes on shows all the time. He's been on Joe Rogan dozens of times. He does all these other shows. He does that laugh, and he's getting away from it a little bit now, but he does that laugh at least once an hour. He's got a quota he has to hit. He's like, "Oh, I haven't been obnoxious in about 45 minutes. Ah! He does that thing, and it's like, it's obviously doing it on purpose. It's annoying.
I've never liked Bert Kreischer. So my ex used to be real into Your Mom's House, which was a good show back in the day. And I remember your episode where you covered it. Like, the more famous they got and the more like big celebrity friends that they got, it like got away from what it was. And now I can't listen to it. But I remember when they started Two Bears, One Cave, she would have it on and I would just hear this fucking banshee howling and it would drive me nuts. I'm like, I can't stand this man's voice. And on top of that, I don't find him very funny. Have you ever laughed at have you watched his stand-up or laughed at anything he's ever done?
I actually went to a stand-up show because he was doing this tour to minor league baseball stadiums. He came to Rochester, and Dave Attell was on that show and a bunch of other comics, Big Jay Okerson, a bunch of comics I wanted to see. So I'm like, okay, great. Because he actually, when he does stand-up shows, and I think he's currently touring right now, he gets great comics on those shows. So they're worth seeing. So we go, we see Dave Attell was my favorite stand-up of all time. I've seen him a bunch of times. He's the funniest guy, hands down. Dave Attell does his set. And Dave Attell ends his set by going, and granted, he's done like 15 minutes. And I'm there to see Dave Attell. And he goes, all right, I should probably get off the stage. You guys just want to see Bert Kreischer. All right, thanks a lot, guys. I'll see ya. Puts the microphone on the stand. And I'm like, no, I came to see you, Dave. What are you doing? So then Bert Kreischer comes up and he goes, holy shit, Dave Attell's funny. And he starts repeating the jokes we just heard. Because it's like funnier than anything that Bert can do. And then Bert took his shirt off immediately. I tapped my wife on the shoulder because there was a jazz festival happening down the street. I go, hey, you want to go to the jazz festival? We got up and left during Bert's set.
Dude, I don't blame you. Maybe he was like funny at some point, but I mostly know him through podcasts and he's not funny. He tries to like.
Here's something that someone told me because I've never understood Bert. I never understood. I know that he's friends with Rogan and that's 90% of the way to get famous and rich, but I never really understood the Bert thing. And then someone explained it to me. They go, no, it's not that he's funny. It's just that he seems like a cool guy and he'd be fun to hang out with. And he's got the right attitude. And I have to give him that because of all these guys who have gotten real famous and are famous comics, Bert does seem to be like kind of, I almost said down to earth. I don't know if that's the right term. But he does seem like he's a fun guy. He would be polite to anyone. If you were hanging out, he'd drink a shot with you and fist bump you and walk away. Like, he's not a dick by any means.
Yeah, he just seems like obnoxious.
Yes, agreed.
But like nothing malicious about him. I just don't find him very entertaining. Like I think you've covered podcasts where he's like on his phone while people are talking.
Yeah. He doesn't pay attention. And then he has this thing where in a lot of his shows, they have the guys in the booth who are producing the show. Yeah. And he'll just say something stupid and then you hear them cracking up. So let the audience know when he's being funny, because otherwise I wouldn't know that was even remotely funny. But the guys in the booth are losing their minds. So it's like, oh, that must have been really funny. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah. And I guess a little bit of the backstory. Van Wilder was loosely based on him. Yes. So I think you know about that story. They wrote an article about him in 1997, how he was the biggest party guy at the biggest party school. And then there was like a bunch of people were like pitching script ideas. I think Oliver Stone was going to make a movie about him. I don't know why. Oliver Stone is like a respected filmmaker. I don't know why he would do that.
Sure.
But then the ones that like didn't get picked up went back to the original writers. They could keep them, and someone turned that into Van Wilder. Which apparently he says he's never seen. I doubt that. I bet he watched every frame of that movie. But yeah, so he does a bit called The Machine out there. It's his two of his podcasts there. He does this stand-up bit called The Machine, and it's based on like when he went to Russia in college, and he only knew how to say he is the machine. And I guess he ended up robbing a train car with Russian mobsters and partying with them. And it's like, okay, obviously a fake story. Obviously a fake story, which isn't a bad thing. A lot of comedians, make up scenarios and stuff. For some reason, this goes viral. I don't know why. Like, I've heard the story.
He's a good storyteller. So I don't think his stand-up is good. But it is a compelling story the way that he tells it. And if you buy into it, if you buy into his bullshit, you're like, whoa, this guy's crazy.
Yes. And I guess he's been doing this for a while, and then some genius decided we should make that into a movie. But that's kind of not what they did. They made this feels like and we're gonna go through it, but this feels like someone had like a John Wick parody script about like a buffoon that gets into like a John Wick situation, and then they rewrote it to be this movie, The Machine, with Bert Kreischer.
Spoiler, to say this movie doesn't work is an understatement.
It does not work on
because
any
it's trying to balance the comedy and action hero.
Yeah.
And some movies can do that. The thing is, you have to be really subtle with the comedy if you're going to do that. If you want to take it seriously, people have machine guns and they're shooting at you. You can't just be like, what a day I'm having. Am I right, guys? It takes you out of it.
Yeah.
It's stupid. That doesn't work. So Indiana Jones can make it work. He can have like a quip here and there and you believe it. But you can't just be like goofy guy all the time when your life is being threatened. It doesn't make any sense.
No, and there's a weird thing going on with comedy. I don't know if you saw that video of Adam Devine talking about like the state of comedy movies. No. And how like a lot of them have like action scenes in them to compete with these bigger movies. Yeah. But yeah, a recent example, I saw that movie Renfield where Nicolas Cage is Dracula. That movie is hilarious, and also the action is great. So this is like this weird trend of them putting these intense action scenes into comedies, and for me that one balanced it really, really well. This movie, total failure. So yeah, I guess we'll go through it. It opens up.
Dude, I haven't hated Luke Skywalker this much since The Last Jedi. That's saying something about Mark Hamill. And before you start your movie, and I do want to break it down with you, I'm not going to slow you down, but I just want to point out this movie is rated R for language, gore, and extreme partying. That's literally what it says. This whole thing now where they tell you why it's rated R, extreme partying. Have you ever seen historical smoking as a reason why something's rated R?
Oh my God, really?
What is that, Tony? What's historical smoking?
I fucking hate the MPA. I've always hated them. Yeah, they're not consistent. They break their own rules all the time. Well, I've been saying for years, just get rid of the whole lettering thing and just tell us what's in the movie that might hurt someone's feelings. That's it. We don't need RPG or any of that shit. Yeah, I should say this is directed by a guy who did a bunch of Key and Peele episodes, and he did the movie Keanu, where Key and Peele get that. What is it? A cat? Did you see that? Was that any good?
I have not seen that, but I love Key and Peele though.
Now, this is written by a guy. You know how the Marvel shows are terrible now? You have like She-Hulk and Miss Marvel, and they're like unwatchable.
Yeah.
The writer of this produced an MCU show that was so bad it never even got aired. Oof. It never even got aired.
Worse than She-Hulk.
Worse than She-Hulk, apparently.
Yikes.
But yeah, it's starring Bert Kreischer, Mark Hamill, Jimmy Tatro, and then a bunch of other people. But yes, so it starts off, this mobster is, I guess for some reason, watching a Bert Kreischer stand-up act. I don't know why he would do that. And he recognizes him, and he calls him the Machine. So it's setting up that this is a bad guy who wants revenge. And then we get the whole backstory to the Machine, and there he is. As a fat guy, Karl, I don't know if you noticed, he's not like funny fat. Can you agree with me on that? Like,
so there's a gag that goes on through the entire movie. They talk about his boobs, and like, oh, that guy with the boobs. Oh, look at that guy with the boobs. He doesn't have boobs. He's got a gut. He doesn't. That's the thing. Yeah, he's got a beer gut. And so Bert's one of these guys. He was probably pretty athletic when he was younger. Yeah. And he drinks a lot of beer. So he's still athletic and everything's proportional except for his gut. But he thinks that he's like, oh, look at me, I'm the fat guy that's hilarious. Sure, why not?
Yeah, but again, like he's not like fat enough to be funny. He just looks like an average dad. And he thinks, for some reason, Bert thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. Like, oh, I took my shirt off. It's like, yeah, okay, buddy, you look like anyone I've seen at a beach in Florida. Like, you look, whatever. I don't care.
But it works though. So he made his bones in stand up at the store and all these places where he'd come on and just take his shirt off. People like, whoa, they all go nuts for it. So I don't get it. It's not for me, but people like it. So the movie starts off with his shirt off, but I have to tell you another spoiler real quick.
Yeah.
We don't get another shirt unveil until the end.
I know. They really tease you here. And now here's a mistake. Karl, if you're going to hire a younger, much better looking guy to play the young version of you in the movie, don't start the movie showing what you actually look like around that time.
Good point.
Because I'm not about to believe anything I'm about to see.
Okay,
why wouldn't they just get the young actor to recreate this?
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that. So they're trying to show that this guy's a real guy and he was doing stand-up. But you're right, because the actor who plays the younger Bert, and again, I thought this was going to be a whole new thing that he was doing. It is to some extent, but there's all these flashbacks. So he literally is doing his act as the movie. And I have to say, I think that's a huge mistake. I'm sure it's the only way that Bert can get a movie made because this bit that he does is very popular. But I think it's ruined his career in movies, this movie. I don't think anyone would ever cast him in anything ever again.
They haven't cast him before this, and we'll get to that because he was not prepared for this movie at all.
No.
So yeah, here we go. We got some stats here. Like, oh, it's going viral. Oh my God, I'm on a thing, and oh, look at that, 33 million views. And by the way, all these podcasts are fake. The Mo Groban Experience,
right?
And I like that he puts 2 bears, 1 cave, not like his main one. And it's cool. Wow, that's a lot of cool stats. Okay, here's a stat for you. The movie was supposed to, the movie I think cost between $20 million to $35 million.
Yeah.
And it made just a little over $10 million. By the way, I looked at the premiere. He like shut down an entire block, had food trucks and alcohol everywhere, like games and shit. He invited every big celebrity he could think of. I'm like, man, you spent a lot of fucking money on this premiere. You probably should have saved some of that.
Well, that's another thing I'll give Bert credit for is that the guy doesn't mind spending money and having fun and doing this shit.
Guess so.
I've heard him interviewed since this movie came out, and they're like, how did the movie go? He's like, it was a failure, but who cares? It was so much fun. Like, he's got a good attitude about it, I guess is my point. Seems like he's enjoying himself.
I guess, but yeah, I'm wondering how this made him feel after that.
That's rough.
That is rough because he was hyping. By the way, that's the crazy thing. He's on like every big podcast.
Yeah. He was promoting the shit out of this on every big show, including Joe Rogan. There isn't a person in the world who doesn't know about this movie coming out. And the fact that it has that much publicity and does this poorly shows you everything you need to know about what people thought this movie was going to be. Even if you're a fan of Bert Kreischer, they're like, maybe I'll rent it or stream it later.
Yeah, people are waiting. No one is really rushing out to the theater for this.
No.
I mean, maybe it'll do better on streaming. Maybe.
Bert also, and again, I got to stick up for the guy. Bert also ran into a thing. It was supposed to be released much earlier than it was. And then Russia went ahead and invaded Ukraine. And so they're like, all right, well, people don't really want to watch a movie about our fun adventure in Russia right now. So they had a hard time releasing it.
I will say, like, this, I think, only was in theaters in America and Canada. As far as I can tell, it got like no real international push.
Right.
Which that could be, that could hurt you too. And then we get into like more of the fake stuff. So he apparently live streamed his daughter's arrest because he got real drunk. And we learn everything, by the way, we learn everything here in the opening scene, like through the therapist thing. And then for some reason, like an hour into the movie, they decide to tell you it all over again, but slower, which was totally not needed.
So this opening scene, it starts with a therapy session, which by the way, is the same as One Too Many. Just want to point that out.
Oh my God.
Stuttering John's movie that we both reviewed. But the acting in this scene is so poor. Like Bert's family, everyone's terrible at acting. And whenever I see that, I always think it could be one of two things. Well, it could be one of three things. Sometimes actors just suck at acting. sometimes the script is really, really bad, and it's just hard to act out these lines. They don't make any sense. No one would ever say this.
I think that's what it is, because the wife is in like bigger shows and
right.
stuff. I get like the younger girls, but yeah, she's like in stuff.
It's also bad directing. That's the third thing. So the directing is definitely bad because, for example, and this is nitpicky, but this is a movie show. I can do that, right?
Yes.
For example, the mom tells the two daughters that they got to leave the room because they're going to have at it with Bert. But before she even finishes saying the thing, the girls are already like halfway off the couch. She's like, all right, girls, get out of here. Like, oh, okay. It's like, cut. Yeah. You don't know your mom's going to say that. I know you've already read the script. We got to pretend you don't know that until she actually says it.
And by the way, I know like we want like the family to like, they want you to want the family to get back together. But yeah, Bert is the bad guy in this situation. It's hard to feel sympathetic for him. It's like, yeah, you kind of screwed over your daughter really hard, dude. This whole movie is based on daddy issues. So all of the motivation in this movie is Bert and his daughter. And then, of course, you have Bert and his father. And then you have the bad guy who maybe isn't the bad guy, turns out to be the good guy, and her dad. Mob lady, I call her. Mob lady and her dad, mob boss. Yeah. So it's everyone has daddy issues. Every single part of this movie is based on daddy issues. What is this? What is this? Guardians of the Galaxy 2? The fuck? Yeah, we don't get enough of that in movies. All right, so he's trying to throw her Sweet 16. He's doing Dr. Pimple Popper decorations. I don't know why. Yeah, and here we go. Bert's fat. It's like, okay. All right, I get it, dude.
So this shirt doesn't exist in the real world, which is why this gag doesn't work. Where he's going, oh, how do you think this looks? It's just like, no one makes a shirt like that. That was tailored for this gag, and it's just stupid. It's just nothing lands with this. Also, right before that happens, they try to do this gag where it's like, you think they're having sex. So like the camera's in, and then it's like zooming out, and you see the wife in the bed, and he's going, I'm going to get there. I'm going to do it. And then it turns out he's on a treadmill in the bedroom next to her, but he's screaming and she's sleeping in bed. This is the problem with comedies like this, is that I don't buy it for a second because none of it's real. It's just like, well, no one would be screaming on a treadmill while their wife is sleeping in the same room. It's retarded. No,
I mean, again, you can be ridiculous in a comedy, but it's just not working here. Like that whole exercise thing.
Okay, thank you. I want to point that out too, and I'm sorry I keep interrupting you.
No, it's okay.
I'll let you get through it. But you can be totally ridiculous. I love Naked Gun. I love Airplane. I love all these types of like over the top ridiculous comedies work because they're all in. This is one of those movies that tries to, tiptoe on that line and balance on that thing where it's like, oh, this is crazy action movie and nuts parts and special effects, but it's also like silly and goofy. You got to pick one or the other in my book. I don't know.
You got to pick one or the other. So then he's like telling her about like the Nutty Professor, and while he was saying that, I'm like, wow, I'd rather watch the Nutty Professor. I don't even care which version, the original Eddie Murphy. I'll watch the fucking Clumps over this fucking movie. Then the party continues. His real life wife is the mom who hates him.
Oh, okay.
He threw his real life wife in there.
That's fun.
I'm sure she was thrilled.
Oh, also at this party is like a super fan of Bert's. This guy who's just like, oh, you're the machine. Like, why did that guy get an invite? Because Bert's just like annoyed with him. He's like, all right, man. Not right now. Not right now. Why is he at your party then?
He's on thin ice with his daughter and everything. And then she's like, I want only a few people. And then he invites everyone, but it's like all his friends and fans. And it's like, all right, so you're really not trying. Like there's trying and failing, but he's not even really trying. Then we meet Mark Hamill, which, you know what? Maybe the actor straight is important because Star Wars residuals, like why is he in this? Why would he feel the need to be in this? I feel like he doesn't need to be in this.
Now, hold on a second, Tony. You know movies. Mark Hamill will take any work that's thrown at him because he had a very difficult go after Star Wars being typecast. So he had to go to be a voiceover actor for cartoons, be the Joker and shit. Because as soon as he's in a movie, it takes you out of the movie. You're like, no, that's Luke Skywalker. I don't know what else this could be.
Speaking of difficult times, I'm trying to wonder, is this now the most embarrassing thing? Or is it when he was a grasshopper in The Guyver? or when he milked that cow tit in The Last Jedi.
All right, so we were on the same page about this is the worst thing since The Last Jedi. Okay, good.
I just don't think he needed to be in this. I'm like, dude, he just did like 3 relatively new. Oh, and he's in Mandalorian and stuff. I'm like, I feel like you have a decent amount of change. Why would you be in this? Why would you do this? I honestly, he's too big of an actor for this movie, and that feels weird to say. About
it reminds me
Hamill.
of like when De Niro does those movies where he's like, what was the one?
Oh, Bad Grandpa or something?
Yeah, right. Like all those movies he does where he's just like, hey, I got some comedy chops too. See this? He's like, no, stop it with that bullshit. Go back to being a gangster. Don't try fucking comedy ever again. I feel like Mark Hamill's doing the same thing. He's just like, hey, I can be a funny guy, huh? Like a lot of serious actors want to do comedy and vice versa.
Yeah. So he just overly criticizes Bert, tells him he's doing everything wrong. And then the daughter leaves the party. She's like, this sucks. You ruined my birthday. I'm out here. And then it cuts to Bert crying. And I went, oh my God, this isn't for this. We're supposed to take this seriously. He is supposed to be conveying sad emotions. I'm like, oh my God, he can't act. And then I thought about him, like, he's been in the industry for a while. Then I look at IMDb, how many times he's played himself, 97. How many acting roles he's had? 8. One of them was a voiceover role in 2017, and then everything else is like from 2007 below. I'm like, I don't think he took any acting lessons for this at all.
No, definitely not. He's playing himself, which I would argue is the easiest thing to do as far as acting goes.
Not enough. No, because we did Private Parts, and Howard Stern actually acted in that.
Right.
That's
what I mean.
That's playing himself. Yeah.
Robin was pretty good in that too. So was Fred. That's what I mean. Like playing yourself is the easiest thing to do.
But you also need some acting lessons.
Probably, yeah.
Because
the other thing,
the
other thing I hated about that this scene specifically. So he's in his garage, and this is the real. He's playing Bert Kreischer. He's a multimillionaire. He's got this amazing house, and this big house, big backyard. And he doesn't ever send the cleaners out there. There's so many fucking cobwebs. I don't know why they decided to throw cobwebs everywhere in this thing.
There's one right there.
Yes, it's everywhere in this. And if I lived there, I'd be like, I'm a multimillionaire. Can we clean up the cobwebs in here? What's going on? Who did I hire to do this?
But yeah, seeing him like trying to act like crying and stuff, I'm like, oh no, he is not prepared for this type of scene. He's like he needed lessons or something. Because I see him, he's always like on like game shows or reality shows where he's like being 100% like amplifying his personality. And it's like, yeah, but this, you don't know how to have a subtle crying scene. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. Okay, so now we quickly enter Act 2 with this scene right here. Like, it gets to Act 2 quick.
Yes. So we're just gonna call her Mob Lady. She shows up and she's like, hey, I gotta take you back to Russia. You're wanted for something. For what you did back there in the past. And Mark Hamill doesn't believe any of the machine story. He thinks it's all made up.
Right.
Which I don't think it's ever been confirmed that it happened. Has he ever even been to Russia?
I'm sure he's been to Russia, and I'm sure something happened, but exaggeration is always used in comedy. It's fine.
Yeah, exaggeration, but at this point you're making a movie about it. It's like, I don't know, is this legit? They decide the dad has to come with them. I don't know why. She could just kill
that's
the
the dumbest thing right there. So the father and son who don't get along are now on an adventure together. Whoa! I wonder if this is going to bring them together. I literally wrote it down. I'm like, I wonder if this is going to bring them together. You can see what's going to happen a mile away.
But they have to go because they sent the DJ is actually one of the hitmen. He is following the daughter. And he's gonna kill her if they don't give them what they want.
Oh, right. You want to talk about the MacGuffin in this movie?
The watch. Apparently, there was a watch that was stolen by Bert, and he has no memory of it. So they need to bring him back to Russia to find out where the watch is.
So the guy who was blackout drunk on this train. They robbed a watch from somebody, and now this mob boss still wants this. That was the whole thing. The mob boss sees Bert on Netflix. Oh my God, that's the guy. They decide that this guy who was blackout drunk is going to know where this watch was. And it's such a dumb MacGuffin because this pocket watch is so important that lots of people die. They're flying private planes across the ocean. It's a very expensive endeavor what they're doing with all of this to get to this pocket watch. So I'm like, okay, I understand movies need a motivation, so they had to come up with something. I just think it could have been better. It just seems like a cop-out.
It's not even like the pocket watch has the combination to a safe or something.
Right. No, it's just like a keepsake.
It's like sentimental value. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, okay.
One thing I did enjoy in this movie, they had some clever transitions. I don't know if you picked up on some of those. But I like this where it's the plane with the trails behind it and then it transitions into a line of coke. There were a bunch of those. I'm like, wow, that was way more effort than this movie required. But whoever did those did a good job.
Agreed.
This big guy. This guy is gigantic. Sponge, they call him.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a fan of the Mortal Kombat games?
Yes, I used to play those games. Yeah.
Okay. That last movie was terrible, but for some reason it's getting a sequel. It's probably gonna suck, but they just cast this guy to be Shao Kahn, and I'm like, that is the most perfect casting I've ever seen.
That guy is.
He's very
wow.
He is gigantic. I mean, again, the movie's gonna blow because the last one sucked, but I'm just like, all right. At least they got that guy to play. I didn't realize they have the shirt on him the whole time. Like, man, he is fucking shredded.
Wow.
But yeah, he's slap fighting everyone. He slaps Bert back into the past. Oh wait, but before that, we get a weird line. Fucking Mark Hamill, he's just like, "How could you eat at a time like this?" What does he say? I'm a small business owner in a stand your ground state. This is like a Tuesday for me.
Yes. What a horrible line that was. What did that even mean? They've just been kidnapped or being flown to Russia where they will definitely be killed. And he's just like, whatever. I do this shit all the time. Why? What do you mean?
Don't.
No,
you don't do this all the time. I know he lives in Florida. I'm like, I know people who live in Florida. They don't go on trips to Russia and machine gun people.
No, with machine gun people. So
yeah, I mean, you're a new resident of Florida. You might at some point, but most of the ones I know who are already there.
So what's so stupid about this premise is that the idea is Bert has to try to remember what happened to this pocket watch that was stolen on this train when he was there with the mafia 23 years ago. Yeah. And so they use that to show flashbacks in order to recreate his act. Because I didn't think there was going to be any of his act in this. I'm like, oh, there's a new adventure. And then it turns out, no, they're actually showing a young Bert Kreischer doing the machine thing. And this was the way that they were able to do that.
And I feel bad for this. This is like some newer actor. I think he was a YouTuber or something. I feel bad because he might be a good actor, but he has to match Bert Kreischer. And it's like, oh, that is not a good look. I'm like, that sucks. I'm like, I feel bad. I want to see him in another movie. I'm like, I want to see what his real acting's like, because I don't think this is a good example of that at all. But yeah, he was given some like family heirloom knife that he lost over there. This scene was bizarre where they land and they're like, you have 12 people. You can only have 11. And then they just kill one of their guys.
Yeah, I don't know. That solves the problem. They're like, we were told there'd only be 11 people on board, and there were 12 because they brought the Mark Hamill along at the last minute. And so they're like, all right, well, if you want 11, then we'll just kill one of the guys. Like, well, no, you still have to explain why there's we still have to understand why there's an extra person here.
Why wouldn't they just kill Mark Hamill and leave him there? Like, they don't need him.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, there's no reason for him to be there. And then all throughout Russia, apparently Bert Kreischer is like the biggest thing in the world. There's machine vodka based off him.
Mm-hmm.
Which he's
this is
about.
Very similar to Mr. Sparkle from The Simpsons, when Homer Simpson turns out to be a mascot for laundry detergents.
Although in this case, it's intentional, whereas in The Simpsons, it was a coincidence. That's true. So now, he goes back. Yeah,
one of the things I love about this movie is that it's they have subtitles when they're speaking in Russian.
Yeah.
But that only lasts so long. Immediately, every Russian in this movie speaks English to each other for no reason with a thick Russian accent. Even family members communicate to each other in English for some reason. Just so, we want to make sure the Americans know what we're talking about here. We don't want the Americans to not understand what's going on.
You usually have to like ease into that. I know there's like movies where you'll hear the Russian and it fades into English.
Yeah.
But yeah, here it's bizarre. So he goes to the old dorms, which are now luxury condos, to look for Igor's room because he used to hang out with a guy named Igor. And then we get a flashback to him and the students showing up at the dorms. And then we get him knocking on the mobster's door and going, I am the machine, which he meant to say, I'm a badass. But he screwed up and said, I am the machine. And everyone loves it. They're like, this is the funniest guy in the world. I probably would have just shut the door. That's just me.
Well, somebody told me this, and I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody, because we've ragged on Bert quite a bit, somebody told me, they go, actually, Karl, the machine translated to Russian is a slang term they use to mean dumb or slow or the R word that we would use here in the States.
Okay.
So that actually kind of makes sense that this guy shows up and he's like, hey, I'm an R word. They're like, come party with us. R word. Let's go. You want to have some vodka and some Coke? Let's bring it on. That actually kind of makes sense.
Okay. I guess I did not know that. Thank you.
I don't know if it's true or not, but
you are the resident Bert Kreischer defender. You're his biggest fan. You will excuse everything he's ever done.
How dare you, sir?
But yeah, so they're partying. He remembers that Igor had a stash, and he stashed everything in a wall. But I guess for some reason, when they rebuilt this condo and put up a new wall, by the way, they just never found this stash.
Yeah.
So the
there
watch
was
isn't
literally
there.
a hole in the wall with brass knuckles, cash, drugs, a pop brownie, and they just like, just put the wall up in front of it. It's fine.
Yeah, just put a wall up. So yeah, while this is happening, Mob Lady gets confronted by her mob brother. So they're all like in a mob war over this watch to like win their dad's respect.
Yeah.
So they could take over his business because he's sick. And this guy looks super punchable. They do like a dog murder, but it's like not funny. He just kind of tosses the dog. But it's not brutal. Like film. Yeah, it's not like filmed to show like how fake the dog. It's not like Jack Black kicking the dog off the bridge in Anchorman, or like a fucking something about Mary, the dog being thrown out the window. Like this one's just kind of like brutal. Like
right, they rip the dog out of this woman's hands who has nothing to do with any of this. She just lives there. And then they chuck it out the window, and then the woman's just bawling her eyes out. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, if anyone who's lost a pet, I don't know how we're going to get back into the funny from this. This is not, I'm not in a good place right now. Why did you just do that? They didn't
even add like a funny sound effect. Like you could do a funny dog murder. It's just that one.
But you could literally throw a person out the window, and if they're Russian, we'll be like, all right, that's funny. But you can't throw a dog out the window. No one thinks that's funny. No one likes murdering dogs. Not cool.
I don't know. Something about Mary's funny when the dog jumps out the window. Are you saying that's not funny?
No, but that is funny because they're not murdering the dog. It's different.
And again, in Anchorman, it was like so clearly a fake dog that looked nothing like the other dog. Yeah, so they get taken away. This girl, again, tries to have a John Wick moment, but it's like the slowest choreography. Like this girl, I think, is like a model turned actress, and she's trying to do these moves, but they weren't like fast. They didn't even like speed it up in post. So
I got to be honest with you right now, and Tony, I hope I don't get kicked off the show for saying this. I watched this at 1.25 times speed. So I thought these parts were all pretty good, but maybe that's why.
Okay. I know you're eager to watch it again. Watch that scene in like regular motion. Okay. It is very, very slow.
Will do.
This was the only funny part in the movie, and they spoiled it in the trailer, the triple headshot. I don't know. I thought that was actually pretty funny. Where like he's like, I'm gonna shoot him in the leg, and he shoots him in the head. He shoots another guy in the head, and shoots another guy in the head. I'm like, all right, yeah, the rule of three there. It was funny. It was shot well, executed well.
Right, but then Bert ruins it by doing his high pitch thing when he's freaking out about murdering people. I'm like, oh, gee, he had to fucking work that into it.
Yeah, so those bad guys are out.
Before this happened, before this scene, they go to a place outside. I think it's before this, and there's graffiti.
No, we're getting that.
Okay, keep going.
It's coming up very soon. But first, we have to let you know that the dog lived, I guess. Which I thought was bizarre.
I didn't know they showed that. Okay.
Yeah, I guess like they felt bad while filming, and they're like, we have to show the dog living. It's like, well, how?
I missed that.
How did it live? Yeah. There you go.
Here we go.
So they go to a place to talk, and then there's just a graffiti that says Tom is fat, which is a dig at Tom Segura, his co-host.
It's not much of an Easter egg because we're literally in St. Petersburg. We're in Russia, and everything is in Russian, and then it's Tom is fat is in English, and it's very prominent on here. It's well lit. You're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, you're talking about Tom Segura. That's not Are people in the theater going, "Oh, I get it! Whoa, I'm in this inside joke."
I bet you in the theater at the premiere, they all laughed at it. I bet he leaned over to Tom and was like, "Ah!" Yep. And they all thought it was funny. But yeah, it was just distracting because I knew exactly what it meant. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Tom Segura. Okay,
stupid.
Okay." I do like Tom Segura. I haven't watched a lot of his recent stand-up stuff. I just can't watch his podcast anymore.
Yeah, him and his wife together is unwatchable. And
yeah, they used to be good, but yeah.
I'm sure they did. People are turning on Tom because he really is becoming kind of a conceited rich prick now.
Yeah. Which is funny if you own it a little bit more, but then don't be shocked when people stop liking you.
Right.
I mean, I can't wait for my rich prick arc. I live every day to get there. I can't wait for it.
I can picture it, by the way, Tony. You with money, I already can see what a douchebag you're going to be. I already know.
We've seen how douchey and obnoxious I am without a lot of money. Now imagine a couple more zeros. Patreon.com/hackthemovies, by the way. Buy a shirt and poster as well.
I've ridden in your car before, and I'm like, this guy drives this car, and he's got this kind of fucking ego on him? Jesus Christ.
Hey, you leave my Scion alone. That car has been very good to me, all right?
Thanks for picking me up from the train station.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, so mob lady, she's like, all right, we got to go find Igor. He's on the train, I guess. And on the way to the train, we're being introduced to yet another bad guy, blonde mob guy. Yeah, we'll get to him. Then we're back in flashback land where they were all on the train, and he's got a date with the one student that he likes. And there's this whole fucking dress montage set to I Saw the Sign to remind you it's the 90s. Not funny. Didn't enjoy it at all. I don't care about his relationship or anything.
It's so lame too. He's smelling his armpit, and then he's spraying cologne, and he sprays cologne down his pants, right? Because your balls stink. Whoa. Pretty good one. Right before that scene, he's rocking out with his fellow students to Limp Bizkit. I'm like, yeah, that story checks out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for back then. But yeah, he was going to hook up with the girl, but then the Russian mob was like, no, you got to party with us. So he's like, okay, I'm going to party. And then he parties a little too hard. And then he ends up, I do like the past, the bar card is insane. And then in the future, it's just kind of fucking dead. But yeah, it turns out he robbed all his fellow students, including the girl he liked.
But hold on a second, because so this is the flashback sequence.
Yep.
And they go, Bert, you got to remember what you did with this pocket watch or how you stole it or whatever it is. So Bert goes, gosh, that's 23 years ago. I was drunk that day. I can't remember. Hold on a second. What if I were to drink vodka? Now, I'm going to tell you something, Tony. And I feel like Bert Kreischer should know this, and anyone who was working on this movie should know this.
Yeah.
You can't remember things that happened when you were blackout drunk by getting blackout drunk. Yeah, that's not how that works at all. So he's just well, maybe if I swing some more vodka. Oh yeah, now I remember what happened. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
None. I blacked out many times in college, and I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened. I mean, I heard what I did. Right. A lot of people weren't thrilled about where I decided to throw up, but I don't remember it personally. And yeah, you're right. It unlocks part of his brain. Is it because he's such an alcoholic? He's able to I don't know.
That's how that works. They act like with Bert in this movie, they act like vodka is spinach and Popeye.
I fucking have that note at the end.
Yep.
He's like Popeye.
So stupid.
So yeah, then this is where we find out he robbed the guy of his watch. And then the girl talks about how he was a respectable businessman, but then the law wouldn't help him. So since his watch was stolen, he decided to turn to a life of crime and became a mob boss. I'm like, what how far away removed was he from the mob that he was able to just jump right into that fucking position? I feel like that's a goddamn leap.
Yeah, that whole backstory was retarded.
It was so dumb. It was so dumb. Then we meet a different Igor who's not the other Igor.
Mm-hmm.
He gets his throat slashed. And then I feel like this could have been funny where he punches him in the neck and his fist goes into the neck. He's like, oh, I'm inside him. And I feel like on paper that might be funny, but I don't know. It didn't get a chuckle out of me.
I literally wrote for this exact scene. I wrote down, was that supposed to be funny?
I think it was.
He punches him in the neck. He goes in through where his neck was slit. Now he's in his throat with his hand. Then they push him outside the window. His head gets chopped off by a sign or something. And then the headless guy falls on Bert and blood squirting all over. It's like, all right, Are we watching Evil Dead 2 now? I'm confused as what this all is.
Yeah, that was like a little too violent for this type of thing.
Right. Is it silly? Is it violent? They can never figure it out.
I think the reason I liked the triple headshot was because that was violence that was also funny. The rest of this is just kind of violent. And I'm like, okay, I like violence and everything, but it's not, you're not doing it comedically enough. Again, check out Renfield. There's a scene where he's just fighting 50 people, ripping their faces off, and it's hilarious. So blonde mob guy ends up being mob lady's brother. This scene was bizarre because they trick him pretty easily. He's like, where's the watch? He's like, I'll tell you where it is. That guy over there has it. He just points to a random guy.
Yeah.
And then everyone on that cart just believes him. And then they sneak away while they confront that dude. It's like, why did that work?
That's lazy writing. And also, this scene right here, it turns into like an anti-patriarchy message that happens all of a sudden.
Yeah,
where all of a sudden the daughter's just like, just because I'm a girl doesn't mean I can't run the family. It's like, yeah, you can't because you're a girl. And it's like, wait, what's going on right now? Why do I care about her gender in this?
They brought up toxic masculinity a few times.
Yes.
The one lady opens up her door, curses, like, I guess wokeness hasn't made it here. And it's like, yeah, Bert, have you not read any of the stories?
Oh, so weird.
Oh, we forgot to mention Mark Hamill has a vow of nonviolence. He made a nonviolence vow after reading a Mandela book. As soon as he says that, you're like, okay, he's gonna like attack someone. Mob lady gets shot off. Yeah, mob lady gets shot off the train, and then Mark Hamill pushes Bert off the train to save his life. I guess. I feel like they would just. Well,
he does it in a way that definitely could have killed him, but yes.
Yeah, I could have definitely killed him.
Yeah.
By the way, I guess no other train was on that track that night because Bert just wakes up on the track.
Woo!
Yeah,
thank goodness.
Maybe the trains just don't run well in Russia. I don't know. I've never been there.
It's very possible.
So we forgot to mention when he goes to that wall for the stash, he finds an old pot brownie.
Oh God.
He decides, you know what? I'm in the woods in a country I'm not familiar with. Everyone's trying to kill me. Let me get high.
No, he says he's starving, so he has to eat the whole pot brownie that's very strong. Now, this scene is so stupid because anyone who's ever gotten high or eaten an edible before, and we all have.
People know my backstory. Everyone remembers Road Rage LA too.
Sure. Yes. You weren't hallucinating. You just wanted to sit in a corner and be by yourself.
I kept blacking out and waking up, realizing I'm on the stage. Like, how did I get back? Who let me back on the stage after my introduction? My favorite part.
We let you in Philly. I can't believe we let you on stage in Philly.
Dude, you don't know so many people were trying to give me drugs in Philly. That was the most amount of drugs I've ever been offered. But no, in LA, I just remember blacking out and everything. And never mind. We're done. We're done with that story.
Well, my point is that for some reason, marijuana now forces you to not only hallucinate, but have a conversation with yourself from 23 years ago. That seems super realistic. Like none of this is what pot does. None of it.
Why wouldn't you just change what the drug was? I mean, it would still be stupid no matter what, but just change it.
It would be, it would make a little more sense if it was anything else.
And then I feel like this, was just, he put this there for his wife. So when she was watching it in the theater, he's like, my wife is so great. And she's a smoke show and everything. And it's like, okay, what the fuck is the point of this scene? Yeah, so we find out that the original Igor is alive. They said he's dead, but he's alive. Who the fuck cares? He's like, oh my God, the machine. I thought you were a bear. I was trying to kill you. And now there's this whole village. Everyone knows the machine, Karl. He's the village's hero. Could you believe it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think in Bert's mind, he is the hero of all villages. So when he was writing this script, he's just like, and then we go to another place where everyone knows who I am. And then we go to this place and everyone knows who I am. And then we go over here and everyone knows who I am. Like, okay, we get it. You're famous.
The funny thing is he actually didn't write the screenplay, or at least he's not credited. But yeah, he was probably in that writer's room. Be like, do this and then do this.
I'm sure he was.
But it turns out Mob Lady also survived, but she got like a stick through her leg. And then again, this is another one of those like over the top. It's supposed to be like gross out. Like he's he's pulling the stick out of her leg and he's throwing up and she's throwing up. And I'm like, I mean, puke stuff doesn't really make me laugh, but there are moments where it could, like Team America, when the one guy just can't stop puking. That's funny.
That's a puppet. That's very funny.
There's also that, but also I think what you call it, Detroit Rock City, there's a pretty funny puke scene in that too. But this I couldn't stomach. I'm like, all right, this is bad.
The whole point of the scene is for the gross out humor aspect. Why would Bert be the guy who has to remove this thing? There's a whole village. I'm sure somebody is better qualified for this job than Bert Kreischer.
Anyone. Literally anyone.
So
like they probably have to run into this shit a lot. They probably get like injured and stuff. It's not like the nicest village in the world. And they're like, oh, instead Bert will just do it.
All right. I have good news for everyone. We're about to enter Act 3.
Yes. So in case you zoned out during the movie, Bert tells the entire backstory of his daughter again, which again, I thought they did a good job through conversations and those images, but I guess it wasn't enough because they needed him to have a heartfelt monologue. And I'm like, no, he can't pull it off. He cannot pull it off. But then they add in this weird thing with Mob Lady where she's a huge Family Matters fan.
Oh God. Yeah, that was stupid.
Came out of left field, and she's talking about like Stefan Urkel and how he was Urkel and Urkel, and you need to be Bert and the Machine, and look what all the stuff you did to help Igor. And it's like, man, this is really forced. This is super fucking forced. I get what they're going for, not working. But it turns out Igor. Sorry.
I'm so glad you're showing this specific screen grab, this still right here, because this unveil of this guy's had this pocket watch on him the whole time just proves what a shitty MacGuffin this has been the entire time. Because, it's like we're trying to find the Ark of the Covenant. We're like, oh my God, we got to find maps and dodge Nazis and do all this crazy shit. This is just like, oh yeah, hey, look at this. I got to watch. I got to look at what time it is. Like, that's the thing we're all looking for. That's the laziest thing I've ever seen.
It's pretty fucking stupid.
So bad.
So she's like, oh, cool, we're gonna bring it back. But he also, for some reason, Igor found all the stuff that Bert stole from his fellow students. Because apparently he got Bert involved with the mafia on the train, so they like wouldn't mess him up or something. It's very convoluted. And it's only
the bad guys were the good guys all along, is what we find out. Right.
Yeah, but it's super convoluted to like give you some kind of heartwarming ending. But when we get to it, it like amounts to nothing really. They go to Moscow finally, and Mark Hamill's on drugs, LOL, because we haven't had enough funny drug scenes.
The funniest thing here is that he's on speed and he loves it.
Yeah, it's the best thing in the world. I don't think he's ever done speed before. I don't know if you should start doing speed at that late in your life.
Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs.
Forgot you had your soundboard.
Just want to point that out to everyone.
Yeah. He ends up breaking his nonviolence rule. He stabs a blonde mob guy. Doesn't kill him though, because it turns out he had the original knife. The knife he gave Bert that he was so mad that he lost was not the original knife.
Which again was just like a non-starter for me. I'm like, whatever, don't care.
All right, then like, why were you so mad at him this whole time?
Right.
But yeah, then you're right. Then we have another heartwarming father-son scene where he's like, I'm sorry, I was such a bad dad. And like, you can do something like this where it's like, this isn't the time right now because everyone's trying to kill them.
They're literally being shot at with machine guns. They're trying to hide from these guys who want to murder them with machine guns. And that's when they have their sentimental moment. And it just takes me out of it because there's no way that these two guys would be like, I finally get you. I get you too. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we were wrong all this time. This wouldn't happen in this situation. You are running for your life at this time. Like, Dad, shut the fuck up. We got to find a place to hide. People are trying to kill us.
That's a lot you're telling me. We got to focus on this right now.
Right.
Again, you could have written it to be comedic, and they didn't do it right. Right. But yeah, here we go. He finally drinks.
Oh, the shirt is off. Superhero activated.
Yeah, I was telling you, it was like those like superhero movies or shows where they take way too long for them to show up in their suits. Like the first season of Daredevil, he doesn't get the red suit until like 10 minutes before the show is done. And it's like, oh, he finally did it. And you're right. The fucking Popeye shit. They even show a cartoon of him getting muscles and whatnot.
But also, this gimmick that he takes his shirt off, the fact that that's like the big thing at the end of this movie, the gimmick is not that much different than Alonzo Hamburger Jones. Like, that's just his gimmick in his stand-up routine. It would be like if, or Hamburger Jones got his own movie, and then at the end, he's got to fight the boss, and someone's like, do you want a hamburger? He's like, hey, a burger. And then he's like, ready to fight the boss. I was like, this is so corny. What are you doing?
Was there ever like a Gallagher movie where it built up to him squishing a watermelon or something?
There. By the way, if Gallagher lived around the internet age, there would have been some idiot executive would have been like, we got to make a movie about this.
By the way, people were talking about how, like, I can't believe this like internet, like, it was from his stand-up, but going viral on the internet made this into a movie. It's like, this has been done before. There was a Grumpy Cat movie. It sucked.
Right.
There's
also Shit My Dad Says was a sitcom with Bill Shatner.
Yeah, that was bad. What was the other one? Remember Afro Ninja, the guy who did the audition and fell on his face? They made that into a fucking movie. Yeah. So it's like, this isn't like a new...
There's a brilliant South Park episode where they have all the internet memes or viral videos from 2008.
I was a little that Tron Legacy movie sucked, but I was really sad that Tron guy wasn't in it at all. I'm like, they couldn't throw Tron guy. Remember that guy? He's an internet legend. They should have put Tron guy in Tron Legacy.
He's no Chocolate Rain, but I hear you.
But yeah, then this is a weird thing. Suddenly, Bert knows how to fight this entire time.
Yes.
And he talks about, like, I went to Florida State. We can only fuck, fight, and drink. And I can't fuck. It's like, wait, so you do know how to fight, but you can only do it when you're drinking, I guess? Like, where were all these fight moves before all of this?
He obviously needs to drink some vodka. And then he's able to not only kick ass, but do it in style. There was a scene here where he's got a cigar, and he lights it with a guy trying to shoot him with a machine gun.
Well, hold on.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Which, by the way, his face would be like all burnt. His ears would be blown out. Like, that's not how that works. Again, it's too over the top to fit in with the rest of the movie. We've been seeing realistic violence and guns.
If you showed me this still right here, I'd be like, that's Die Hard. That looks like a scene from Die Hard right there, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's ridiculous. And like, they kill Shao Kahn. By the way, I feel like this movie was just like an acting reel for Bert. He's like, look, I could do funny, I could do action, I could do sentimental.
Yeah, right.
Meanwhile, this guy did a action scene where he's holding a hammer, and he probably went to the Mortal Kombat guys, and he went, I'm 9 feet tall, and I held a hammer. Cast me as Shao Kahn. They went, all right, well, you got the part.
Yeah.
So good for him. Mark Hamill kills him on accident with the sickle, which is pretty lackluster there. And then again, when we got this bigger fight scene with the blonde mob guy, and it just goes on, and while this is happening, like, mob lady is having her own John Wick style shootout. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'd rather just watch John Wick. John Wick probably has more jokes in it, to be honest. Actually, I don't know if you are you big into the John Wick movies? Have you seen those?
I have seen the first one, and I want to see the other because I loved it, and I don't watch movies very much.
They get a little more ridiculous as they go on, but the last one, like, got like, they're still taking themselves seriously, but there are sequences in the last one where I'm like, all right, you, like, no person could ever survive this, and you start laughing. Again, not a comedy, made me laugh more than the
I guess that's what I mean when I made an Indiana Jones reference earlier.
Yeah.
I guess what I mean by that is if, like, it's a serious situation and then somebody has a funny quip or there's a funny thing that happens, that works. But if you're starting with, this is a comedy movie, and then it turns into, and I'm fighting the Russian mafia all by myself, even though they have machine guns, I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean? Yeah. It's so stupid.
By the way, speaking of not seeing movies and Indiana Jones, do yourself a favor. Don't see that new Indiana Jones movie.
I don't plan on it, sir. I saw.
Do yourself a favor.
I saw the Crystal Skull in the theater, and talk about laughing in a movie. Wow, that's a big laugh to that.
We have a review for every Indiana Jones. Actually, Doug was in our first Raiders of the Lost Ark one. But yeah, we have a review for the newest Dial of Destiny, and god damn, that movie sucked. So mob lady saves them from blonde mob guy, and then the dad shows up.
Oh, this is great because the dad shows up. This is the big moment where who's going to be the one who got the pocket watch. And for some reason, this Russian family who are in the Russian mafia, who are all together at this point, decide to speak English to each other.
Yes. So Bert knows what they're saying.
Yes. That's good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
But yeah, he's like, you are a woman or whatever. Like your brother's going to get it for no real reason. It's weird. Like, why even have her there at all if you're just going to give it to one of the brothers anyway? But yeah, she just kills her dad. And then of course she does a, did I do that? Urkel reference, which I had already
doesn't work at all. Doesn't work at all.
No, I already forgot about the Family Matters thing.
Yeah.
So when she did that, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, oh, right, Urkel. I haven't watched Family Matters in 20-something years, so I forgot that. Yeah, so that's a weird ending. But by the way, he said the son will take over, and then all his mob guys just bow down to her. And I'm like, well, are you not going to honor his last wishes? Like, she can't take all of you out. One of you could just shoot her.
For whatever reason, she just shot him.
Yeah.
In cold blood. And instead of them going like, oh, that's our boss, we're going to kill you now. They all go, oh, all right, well, now I guess you're de facto the leader. That's not how that works at all. I've never seen
weird.
Like, you know how short The Sopranos would have been if at any time Christopher could have came in and just shot Tony and then been the boss. Like, oh, now you're the boss. That's how that works. They turn on you when you shoot the boss.
Yeah, that was weird. I'm like, wait, it'd be one thing if she also shot the brother, and they're like, well, there's no one else left, but the brother's still alive, so they're like, oh, well, we're gonna kill you.
The brother is fine and barely detained, and he's just like, well, I guess I lose. All right, I'll go with you guys. We're so stupid.
Meanwhile, Bert and fucking Mark Hamill are just like, man, she has daddy issues. We better be nicer to our kids. Which she does make a joke about. She's like, or they'll kill you. He goes home, and I love that his family is just lukewarm on his return.
Well, they don't know he's gone. They didn't know he went to Russia.
Because he lied and said that he was just following the daughter. But like, he's like, I'm back. And like, no one fucking cares, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. Bert Kreischer doing a makeout, like a passionate makeout scene. I didn't enjoy that. I was like, no, can we cut that? And I felt bad for the actress, to be honest. I felt really bad for her.
Yeah, well, she earned her paycheck that day.
It's not even like his real wife, like, knew him when he was younger in like better shape or anything. But like, it's just like, oh man, this lady, like, I would feel bad.
As soon as he made out with her, she went on strike. They're like, we're not even on strike yet, lady. She's like, no, I am on strike. I will not act again.
Early.
Yes. She went right to the picket line that didn't even exist at the time.
So yeah, then the student that he had a crush on, he mails her the ring, and she's all happy about it.
Yeah, that was a weird little thing too. He could have banged her, but then he decided to go party with the Russian mafia instead. And she's sentimental about it for some reason. Like, okay.
Somehow he still knows her contact information, and where to find her. Yeah, remembers her name. Like,
right.
Karl, there were a bunch of girls that I almost hooked up with in college. I couldn't find them if I tried.
No, but I bet you could name all two of them. I'm just kidding. You were hot.
Hey, I was very hot in college. I was a Bert Kreischer. There is a video somewhere out there of me just like half naked running around the apartment, just fucking obliterate it. My roommates uploaded that, never took it down. So it's impossible to find. Only I know how to find it. But...
That's fine. I won't be looking.
Anyway, it ends with him back in therapy, and he's about to tell a new Russian story. And it's like, oh, is this setting up The Machine 2? And then we get this, I don't know, did you stick around for the dumb commercial at the end?
I did, but did you hear the song that started playing as soon as the credits started rolling?
Which one was it?
It was Father of Mine by Everclear. So I'm watching this movie and I'm like, oh my God, daddy issues galore. Everything's a daddy issue. And then they literally hit you over the fucking head with it. After the movie ends with Father of Mine. I'm like, oh no, this is the worst song after the worst movie.
The beginning is a cover of Torn by Natalie Imbruglia, which is a song for some reason, and I don't know why. I can't name you a single goddamn song she's done outside of this. I know every word to this song. Whenever it like came on the radio, I would like know every word. I'm like, how much did this play on MTV in the 90s that I remembered every goddamn word to this?
I don't know if I even know it. I mean, you can't play it on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't want to play it. If you like listen to it, you're gonna be like, a man sung it in the movie, which is why it sounded weird.
Oh, okay, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, it was a cover.
Yeah, but it's like a woman sings it in real life, and yeah, it's just a bizarre song choice. I know it's 90s; they want to have like 90s songs.
So yeah, during the credits, there's a little skit. They have to do a Kreischer. So Mark Hamill owns this carpet store.
Yeah,
3 locations. So they have to do a Kreischer carpets ad, and it is not funny.
And then the carpet is spelled with a K. I'm like, oh, are they going to do like a funny thing where they're like, there's a third K, and they're like, oh, no, you can't call it that. But no, they don't.
There will be no funny here.
Oh, but that was The Machine. Get your super chats in now, everyone. I'm going to go through these. Karl, what was your main takeaway from this movie?
Well, I think I kind of said it, but the way that this movie tries to be so many different things at once, and I get the sense that Bert looked at this as like, I have to make this movie everything. And kind of like how Jim Carrey did Pet Detective, and Jim Carrey's pulling out every stop he has. He's talking with his butt. He's doing every voice. He's doing every character. And if you go back and watch Pet Detective, it's a good movie, but Jim Carrey is a clown in that movie. Yeah. It's similar to like Nicolas Cage in his movies. You're just like, what is this guy doing? He's just being a buffoon. I feel like Bert Kreischer was in that mode. He's like, I got to do everything. He's got to make everything happen. I got to make it count. And it's embarrassing.
Here's the thing though, Karl. Jim Carrey acted in things before his big break with Pet.
No, Jim Carrey's very talented. Yes, he's a very talented.
He's a very talented actor.
Right.
Like he was a comedian. He did comedy stuff, but he also like acted and had acting lessons and whatnot.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, let's go through some of these. Get them in now, guys. Sage D for $2 says Stargate is Star Trek for edgy nerds. Okay, I kind of get that. The TV show, maybe not so much the movie. AJ Wizzle says greetings from Acme Acres. Tony, what is the greatest stain upon Hack the Movies? Oh Jesus, I don't want to talk about that on air.
Let's get into it.
You know who it is? Our next the biggest stain is our next super chat. Crystal, my co-host. I've actually hung out with Bert. I'm cooler than you. Bye. So she's clearly out right now. Crystal's been having a lot of fun. She's been going to premieres for like new shows and shit, and just rubbing it in my face that she's in New York on like the premiere of Twisted Metal and whatnot. I'm like, what the fuck? How did you go to this? Sorry.
No one told me there was going to be boasting.
Exactly.
That's for you, Crystal.
She does. Here we go. Hold on. Crystal again. Bert literally has a joke about me choking out my ex. Once again, I'm so much cooler. Back to Lei Retro Gaming. F Boys Month. Oh, by the way, Karl, it's been Boys Month all month on Hack Movies.
Boys Month. Yes.
I kicked all the female co-hosts off. I made a mistake, Karl. I saw the Barbie movie and then we did a Barbenheimer review and I said that it was okay. My comments let me know that was not the case.
Oh. You thought the Barbie movie was decent?
I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
I have no opinion on it.
Dude, did you see it or?
No. I'll tell you this. We have a Plex account and my buddy gives us all these like TV shows and movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my wife goes, I really want to watch Barbie. Is it on Plex? And I was like, no. I didn't even check.
I will tell you this. Not. I mean, I now hate the movie because I saw the light. As soon as they told me I was wrong, I signed up for Hustlers University. But I will say you're gonna laugh more at the Barbie movie than you ever will The Machine. I
believe it. I didn't smirk once at The Machine.
No, not once. But yeah, Boys Month, no girls allowed, and I definitely didn't just accidentally schedule all male episodes and I'm playing it up. I'm doing this on purpose.
It's Boys Month and it's also White Guy Month. Yeah, let's go. No.
I think. By the way, wrong month. Reverend Jesse Lee Peters says that July is White History Month, so you're off by a month.
Oh no, I'll take July and August. Let's combine the two. Let's go.
Jesus Christ. David Bauer for $2. He leaves this super chat every single time. Tony loves mommy milkers. I mean,
good stuff.
I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't? Sage D again for $2. Bert, I took a sip of vodka. Dare me to fight. Is that something he says?
No, I don't think so. Is it?
I don't know. Here's a recurring super chatter. Billie Jean. Tony, seeing you and Vito do Face Off has made me wonder, can you both put your DNA in a cup and send it down to Florida so I can get a second opinion? Billie Jean claims that I am the one, Carl, but that kid is not my son. All right. That's a Michael Jackson reference.
Wait, Vito was on the show and you guys did Face Off together?
Yeah, we did Face Off. And
Vito Gesualdi?
Yeah.
Your arch nemesis?
Yeah, I'm dressed exactly like him. And the whole joke, we did it right after the live show when he kept saying he was going to kill himself if his comic didn't take off. So the whole joke about the thing of like, Vito, I'm going to replace you in case your comic doesn't take off. I'm dressed just like you. All I need is your face.
Who would want that fucking life? Not it.
Default for $5. Which comedian would you like to see a movie about? For me, Anthony Cumia's childhood stories up to his divorce are some of the funniest things I've heard. I don't know. You're friends with the guy. Would you watch an Anthony Cumia movie?
Oh yeah, like his childhood and being a tin knocker and stuff. Yeah, I think that would be hysterical.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually watched a lot of stand-up comedy in like years. It's been a while since I watched it.
Well, Anthony's not a stand-up. He was a radio personality.
Well, or just any comedian, really. Okay, you know what? I would like to see the Stutter and John movie, but like not told by him. Like I want all the stories sourced from people who know him.
No. Let me write it. Let me write it. I got it.
You should write it.
I got this. No worries. I got it.
Oh, I would love an Artie Lang movie. That would actually be really good.
Listen, I have the autobiography. I know everything there is to know. I can write this book. Don't you worry.
I would like an Artie Lang autobiography, like a movie about him. I think that.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, it would actually be tragic. I've read some of Artie's books, and they're actually really depressing.
Yeah, which is why he's so funny. He was able to turn that depression and stuff. I mean, he's a tragic guy. I don't know how he's still alive. But yes, next we have Polish Texan guy for $5. Where's the Joey Diaz movie? He tells better fake stories.
Yeah, I'd rather watch a movie about this guy telling a chick he has to blow him to get on stage at the Comedy Store than Bert Kreischer the Machine.
Okay, get some last ones in there real quick. We're going to talk to a patron. Ironically, the one patron I have who actually paid to see this in theaters is not in the chat right now. But here is the one and Dennis. Hello, Dennis. How are you?
Hey, Tony. Hey, Carl. I'm doing good. I'm here for White Boy Club or White Boy.
All right, yeah, White Guy Club. All right.
I was gonna. No, don't show the shirt.
Yeah, looking good. Looking good.
Sorry.
But I can't be in the White Boy Club. I'm Italian. We've had many discussions about this.
Ew.
Dennis, did you watch The Machine?
I sure did. Yeah.
Why did you watch it? Did you watch it in preparation for this, or did you just watch it for fun?
I watched it because I enjoy Bert Kreischer on podcasts. I've never seen a stand-up live. He's on the list, but very bottom of my list, not really like mid-list. People who I want to see do comedy. But
wait, so you like Bert Kreischer on podcasts? Is that what you just said?
To an extent, yeah. I mean, he's
real
been
quick.
on a lot.
I'm just gonna play this real quick.
Okay.
So you choose to listen to that is what I'm getting from this.
If you hit the arrow on your keyboard, it skips ahead 5 seconds, and then you just keep hitting that until he looks like he's breathing again. Eventually, he'll turn back to normal color.
So what was? Did you see this in theaters, or you just went to hit stream?
I did not see this on theaters. In theaters, I saw it alone in a room here, and I feel like I should have seen it with a crowd because it was uncomfortable. I feel at most.
No, because then more people are having their night ruined. It's better that it's just one person at a time.
Yeah, it was. You guys pretty much nailed it on almost every aspect. It was kind of tough to see him on film, like for the first time, like ever. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, he's rough, but he kind of evened out. Like, kind of got a little better throughout the movie. But like, it
debatable.
Was painful. Yeah,
I heard Bert. He went on a
tough.
show and he was being interviewed about this, and he mentioned how many times he went to theaters to see the movie. He would bring people to theaters and he would sneak into theaters and watch the crowd reaction to the movie. Like he was going to theaters all the time when this was out in theaters watching this. And I'm just curious, as I was watching, I was thinking about this. What would get a pop in the movie theater? Like when he puts his hand into the guy's neck, I didn't think that was funny. I didn't know. Are people laughing at this when he's puking in that one scene? What is the thing that's going to pop in the theater? I'd love to know what the crowd's reacting to.
Honestly, for me, it would have been the triple headshot, but it got spoiled when I saw the trailer when I went to see some other movie. Because I remember being like, oh, God, I don't want to see this. And then when that happened, I went, ha! And that was it. So by the time I actually watched the movie, I'm like, well, that's not funny. I've already laughed at it. Real quick, we got another one. Tony, I feel half a man in the locker room. Please release the Tony towel. Karl, that picture of me with the tiara used to be on a towel. You can see it in Mint Salad's show. She has it on the wall. Hopefully I can get it on a towel again at some point, guys. I know people really want the Tony towel.
Can I just point out? Yeah. So I'm wearing a Who Are These Podcasts shirt right now.
Yes, and I'm wearing that.
Does it have a photo of me on it? Do you see my face on this? Is there any of my merchandise that has a photo of me on it? No. I know. Actually,
wait a minute. No. Fuck you. You sold the Philly shirt, which is the art of you and Dick.
I was just going to say this. So actually, there is a shirt available in the Dick's store. And it is the shirt that we were selling in Philly for Road Rage, Philadelphia, too. And it's an illustration of me and Dick. And I wore that shirt out one day. We went out to dinner, and I went, oh, I feel like a ridiculous human being. There's literally a picture of me on my shirt. I'll never wear this again.
I wear my face all the goddamn time.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit. By the way, that shirt that night, that was the second best-selling shirt at the show. I created the first best-selling shirt, the Vito's merch shirt.
Yeah, fuck off, by the way. I'm still annoyed by that.
Hey, I just wrote Vito's merch on the shirts. Whatever he did after that, that's on him. I wouldn't have charged that much goddamn money for the shirt, but that was my bad.
You guys literally took up the entire merch table. We had everything set up. We have all this merch, Dick Show, Who Are These Podcasts, all this stuff. And then you guys show up, shove everything out of the way
No.
to start writing on white undershirts, Vito Show.
Well, I wrote in the car on the way there. I know because my brother-in-law, he hit a bump and the marker went on his wall in the car. No, me and Vito are the ones that pushed everything over to redesign them. But yes, thank you for being on here, Dennis. Karl, I plugged you in the beginning, but do you have anything specific coming up? What are you talking about in upcoming episodes?
Well, we do have something very specific coming up, and that is our live show in Detroit. It's actually Ferndale, Michigan, just outside of Detroit at the Magic Bag, September 15th. And the last time we played there last year, we sold out the theater. It's a great place, a great venue, a lot of fun. I'll be there with my friends, the Drew and Mike Show, and Eric Zane. And Vinny's making the trip, and Jenny Jingles, and producer Chris, and trucker Andy, and all the regular crew. Maybe some surprise guests for sure. But I said maybe for sure. That was stupid. But
that didn't make any sense.
WAT, because I was in my head, I was debating whether or not to play the actual promotion.
This is the Golden Voice, Ted Williams, and I can't wait to meet you at the Magic Bag, September 15th.
So Ted Williams, the Golden Voice. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Of course you do. Okay. So he is going to be at the show, which I'm very excited. He's our official announcer. He's coming to the show. So he's going to be there, and he'll be meeting with people and taking selfies. But WATPlive.com is where you want to go to get your tickets for that.
Awesome. I want to start going to, I can't make that one because I have a convention that weekend.
Sure.
PA HorrorCon. Guys, check that out. I want to start going to some of the live shows that are in other states now that I have time and money to travel. Because that last one was a shit ton of fun. The Philly one was a lot of fun.
That was awesome.
But yeah, if you guys are in Detroit, I know I actually have a bunch of fans in Detroit when we went to Astronomicon, more than I expected. Check out that show. It's a lot of fun. And check out the Creep Off every Monday.
Yes, Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Creep Off YouTube channel. Myself and Vinny Paulino. The only true crime show made for men. The only one.
Which now features Jess from Hack the Movies, who I guess is now Jess from the Creep Off. I gotta get her back
just the results girl is what her name
yes,
is.
the results.
Because we have audience participation. People go on, they vote for whoever they thought won the round, and then Jess comes down and reads the results for us.
Yes, and she does a great job there. Anyway, thank you, Karl. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the Patreon. And yeah, that is it from us. We will see you all later. Goodbye.
Later.
And now I'm ending.